Open your books to page 17. For some of you, this will be new. For some, this will be familiar. In our order, in the Hollow Bones order, we pay attention to the 5 training elements. There was just a course done. I believe you were a part of that. Weren't you?
The precepts course?
Yeah.
That's going on right now.
That's going on right now. Well, the 5 training elements is a modern Americanized version of the Noble Path, the Eightfold Noble Path. And we haven't talked about it in a while, and I thought today might be a good idea to take some time and go through this and see what jumps up, what strikes us as being curious or of consequence, meaningful. So my request is that popcorn style, just somebody pick one, and we'll just run around the room and read it, and then we'll go back when we're done and have a conversation. So the 5 training elements. Who'd like to read Sacred Stewardship?
I can. Sacred stewardship. What is sacred stewardship? What does this stewardship include? How am I as an individual fulfilling my commitment to stewardship? And am I acting with integrity in this chosen responsibility? How do the patterns of my consumption affect the earth and environment I live within? And what do I spend my energy and money? How does stewardship relate to community? Does a good steward have an organic standard? Do I take a stand? If so, where?
Thank you. Next one.
Okay. Philosophical and cognitive reindoctrination. How do I, as a contemplative being who seeks to understand and walk in conscious spirituality, think differently? What are the core statements about spirit and consciousness that I base my thinking upon? What story do I tell myself and others about the deepest qualities of spirit, and how does this story influence behavior in my life? Do I choose the clarity of wisdom and non-judgmental awareness and the warmth of compassion over self-righteousness and selfishness? Am I willing to change my mind?
Thank you. Next one.
Valerie, emotional maturity and integrity. Am I capable of experiencing the deeper feelings of fear, sadness, grief, and compassion which underlie my normal conditioned reactions of anger and shame? Am I then willing to choose to respond from the truth and compassion that this deeper realization brings forth? Do I realize that I choose my reactions to feelings, and am I willing to make other choices? Am I willing to stay mindful and watch a negative reaction like anger or shame manifest, and then skillfully and compassionately choose another response? Do I realize the angst of negative emotional reactions as liberating emotional colors, and embrace these opportunities for Mondo Zen transformational practice? Am I willing to enter into transformational awareness and actually change the way I react and feel?
Thank you. Next one.
Conscious embodiment. Am I comfortable and at ease in my body? Am I fit and ready to respond as a warrior who might need to defend his or her family? Do I delight in this body enough to give a dance performance at the drop of a hat? Is it necessary to have a conscious embodiment practice to remain physically aware and fit?
Thank you. Next one.
Genuine insight. Have I tasted the pure, sweet truth of divinity within myself? Do I consider my personal insight and self-realization adequate? Have I experienced the freedom that is promised and offered by all of the contemplative traditions? Where could the kingdom of heaven really lie if not within me? 3 cultural poisons. Denial. The environment is fine. Cynicism. What can I, one person, do? Hypocrisy. My behavior is exemplary.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's a modern distillation of the original Eightfold Path. The I suppose one might say the most unique revision is the first one, the stewardship admonition. How do I take care of myself? How do I take care of my planet, my space? How do I spend my money? What businesses do I support? The others are reworking of traditional ideas. So anything pop up for anybody in reading those?
I was interested in philosophical and cognitive reindoctrination. What story do I tell myself and others about the deeper qualities of spirit? And it's got me thinking, like, are any of those stories actually wrong if they bring about, the actual actions and practices? Like, is finding the right story important, or is it just like whatever story works to bring about, the awareness that you talked about?
Those are wonderful questions. What are the answers? It's there to invite us to question, to ask those questions. And it's individual. It's there as an individual psychological inquiry as well. What stories do you tell about you? Are you good enough? Are you lovable? Are you kind enough? Are you greedy, selfish, self-serving? Those are philosophical questions too, philosophical stories that we tell about ourselves. I'm not lovable. I'll be alone forever. And I'll be alone forever. And that is the worst thing that could ever happen to any human being. Those are just stories. Not to dismiss that those things are real feelings and have power, but they're stories. So what stories do we tell about ourselves? It's part of the growing up and showing up message of Zen. Is it okay? What is it about my inner reality, my behaviors that I need to be more honest about? Or need to make amends around, or forgive myself. Those are all stories, right? Right? Remember, I can't see. You've got to nod, or grunt, or do something, because I can't see. God, I've been taken advantage of all these years. But thank you. Yes, those are stories that people can have about themselves. Thank you. Anybody else?
My question is like, what is sacred stewardship? Does sacred stewardship also include like not only the planet, but like taking care of like I don't know, like other people, like taking care of not only like the world, but like your social aspects, like being kind to other people, helping people wherever you can. I guess that's the nurse in me asking, like, since I'm taking care of people, does that count as stewardship?
What do you think?
I think it does, yeah.
Good. I'm glad we could have this conversation. Yeah, there, give me your hand. There is no separation. We are one being, right? And if I'm cruel and unkind and mean to you, then you're going to be cruel and unkind and mean to Stephen, and he's going to be cruel. We're all one being. So yes, I think that's a good observation. steward the earth tends to be thought of in terms of pollution and consumption and things like that, but it also includes being kind to one another, right? Thank you. Anything else?
I like under emotional maturity and integrity, it says, do I realize that I choose my reactions to feelings, and am I willing to make other choices? Am I willing to stay mindful and watch the negative reactions like anger and shame manifest, and then skillfully and compassionately choose another response?
Mm-hmm.
For me, I guess, what's really interesting is what I've heard referred to as the sacred pause. Like, you do have a choice. Like, if you stop and pause, and like you do here, meditation, like, you do have an opportunity to, break out of those patterns of reactivity, and like, you have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily an easy choice, but it's a choice nonetheless. So, and that can be pretty transformative.
Oh, I absolutely, absolutely. And by the way, the word is I. Did you catch him on that? I think you did. When I have an emotional charge with you because of something that happened between us, and I take a breath, I take that moment, my response will be different than if I don't take that moment. And generally speaking, it will be healthier. It'll be a way of bonding us and creating understanding and clarity. It won't be, I like to talk about two dogs barking at each other.
I believe the psychological term is double tracking.
Is what?
Double tracking.
Double? Oh, I like that. I like dogs barking. If you've done something and I am triggered by that in a negative way, and I bark at you and I tell you you're wrong, and we always do this, and when are you going to learn? You're going to bark back at me, or you're going to run away. In either case, I've made a mess. Because I haven't owned that it's my feeling, it's my thinking, it's my view of myself. Right? Are we saying the same thing? Yeah. If I'm triggered and I say, wow, just a minute, I don't know what just happened, but I'm feeling confused right now. I want to talk to you about this. We have a whole different reality, don't we? There's no need for you to be afraid. There's no need for you to run. And you can take a breath yourself and say, John, well, what is it? What's going on? And suddenly we've got two people who care about each other trying to work it out. Yes? Not that you would ever do that. Yeah, thank you. I think that's a very important part of personal growth, is to learn to not bark. It's hurtful. Anything else?
I like the bit in 3 Cultural Poisons about cynicism. What can I, one person, do? Which, from all my experience doing lots and lots of deep inner work on myself, it's shocking how much, just by focusing on yourself, how much, just by me focusing on myself, how much my entire world changes just from going like.
Well.
And so sometimes it's easy to get lost in, like, I find that I can easily get into the mode of trying to save other people and trying to change other people or help other people, even working in customer service and stuff like that. It's a lot easier to for me to try and help other people. But when I actually come back to myself and think, okay, well, what can I do? Me as one person, well, I can actually do a lot for myself, which is actually going to make all of my other relationships, kind of back to George's thing as well. I feel like even I see sacred stewardship even being within yourself, like improving or within myself, sacred stewardship being me focusing and improving my own self, because if I can improve myself, then I'm going to improve all of my relationships with everybody else around me.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Good.
I had a conversation with myself too.
You talked about,
We don't even need you.
ah, at last, I'm free.
You're welcome.
Guess who gets this seat next Sunday? And that, to me, that, appreciate what you're saying, and that points to the second one, the philosophical and cognitive reindoctrination. How do I react to other people? How do I interact with other people? Since all of us are on the bodhisattva path here to make the world a better place, it's got to start with me. Yes? So I would never do what I modeled to you. I would never do that. It's inconceivable. I don't even know if I could, except for drama. We're here to help one another. Who famously said that? Was it Ram Dass? He said, we're all just walking each other home. Was that Ram Dass? That's sweet. What a beautiful expression. We're all just walking each other home. Anything else?
I liked, do I delight in this body enough to give a dance performance at the drop of a hat?
And the answer is?
No.
But it's a good question, isn't it? Yeah, and why do you suppose that's included in this?
I think there's a lot of, what is it? I always feel that everybody's looking at me, but the more that I realize that people are just worried about other people judging them, that no one's really looking at you. They're all worried about what other people are looking at them. So
What do you think?
I think that, yeah.
It's an encouragement to be healthy. It is not a requirement that we're going to have a can line here someday. But it's an encouragement to be healthy. It's an encouragement to, as part of sacred stewardship, to eat well, to consume well, to be physically active. We don't have to have the body of a dancer or the skills of a. It's an encouragement to take care of our bodies. This is the only one I get.
Yeah. But also to have fun with it, I think.
Yes, yes. Go ride a bike. Feel the wind blowing in your hair. Take a walk. Jump in the river. That'll wake you up. In mid-April. Yeah. Thank you. This is selfish, but I'm as you all know, I'm kind of falling apart here, and I have sadness about that sometimes. I'm older, which is good. Beats being dead. But there are so many things that I used to be able to do that I can't do anymore. And sometimes I feel embarrassed by that. I've let go of it here because you all are so kind. You know, George threw his hand out when he saw me get up earlier. And that happens automatically now. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate that. But I'm limited. I can't do things I used to be able to do. And some of it's age, and some of it's my bigger health concern. Bigger. And that says something about take advantage of your body when you can use it. Go dancing. Go roller skating. Whatever it is. Because you won't be able to do it forever. Someday you'll wake up and say, what happened to me? All right, well, we should go have coffee. Who's in? In. Ricky's going to take care of it at the coffee shop. So he is. He always goes there first, and he's gonna tell Cindy to not let any of you pay. Okay, so just keep your wallets in the car.
Bye.